I'm Duncan McLeod, and this is the TechCentral podcast brought to you today by CallMiner. Now, I'm looking forward to this next conversation because we're going to be talking to executives from one of CallMiner's big clients here in South Africa, and that's African Bank. So let me introduce today's speakers to you. We have Vere Millican, and he is Executive of Credit and Data Science at African Bank. And we also have Penny Futter, who is the bank's Chief Information Officer. Welcome to both of you. And then I believe all the way from the UK today, we have Frank Sherlock, who is Vice President of International Markets at CallMiner. Welcome all of you to the podcast, and thanks for joining TechCentral today.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Duncan.
I think let's start with you, Frank, if you don't mind, maybe just to set the scene about CallMiner and what it is the company does. I had a look at your Wikipedia page a bit earlier today, and it says you're a private company headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts, and that you develop speech analytics and interaction analytics software. But maybe tell us a little bit more about the company, its founding, and its key focus areas.
So CallMiner were founded around about 2001. We were a pioneer effectively in this field of interaction analytics. And just to maybe just frame what interaction analytics is, organizations have lots of interactions with their consumers across many, many different channels. These interactions are effectively data. The problem with the interactions is they are unstructured data, and this rich data source is locked. What we enable our customers to do very simply is to unlock that data to provide some actionable insight to help the businesses transform operations or products or processes or marketing. So really, if you think about CallMiner, we're a data company that help businesses transform. People often say, hey, speech analytics, it's a lot more than just speech analytics.
So speech and customer interaction analytics, what does this technology do? How does it work exactly? And what are the benefits for companies?
So many companies today will take a view, they'll manually listen. So let's take audio as an example. They'll manually listen to a small percentage of the calls that are happening between their associates or agents and their consumers. The problem with manual sampling is it is what it says. It's very small. It's 1, 2, 3% of all of the calls. 97%, therefore, if you're on 3% of the interactions, are not listened to. There's no data gathered from them. So what we do is to provide holistic analysis automatically of all of these interactions and help our customers to identify where there are pinch points, where there's there's excessive customer effort, where the customer experience could be improved, where efficiencies can be gained, really with a lens of helping to improve the customer experience. So the move from manual sampling, which is expensive and time consuming and de minimis, to holistic, consistent and objective analysis of all of these interactions. So when you've got all of that data, you can do wonderful things with all of that data. I'm sure Vere will be talking a bit about why data is important to African Bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to Vere shortly in the conversation. But Frank, is this real time? Do you do this analytics in real time, or do you record the conversations and then do analytics post event?
So we do both. For African Bank, we're doing post event. So we're looking at we're taking the audio from the call recordings and we're analyzing them. So African Bank will give us the audio on a regular basis, maybe once, twice, 3 times a day. We'll analyze that and have all of the information back from that analysis for the next day. We also have other customers that do both that's called post-call analytics. We have other customers that do real-time analytics, which is in the moment analysis. So we're analyzing the conversation as it's happening in our case, in 6-second snippets. And we're looking for, is there anything that's particularly insightful? And real-time analytics is really done to provide guidance to the agents that are handling the call. One of the big examples we've seen for the use of real-time would be things like vulnerability. There's a lot of vulnerability in the world today,
Yes.
whether it be health, whether it be financial, whether it be even digital vulnerability. People having problems doing things on digital channels, and guiding. When you hear the agents that are focused on doing the handling the call, will quite often miss some of the markers. I've recently just got out of hospital. That could be a marker of someone who's vulnerable. Yeah, I've recently lost my job. Another marker of vulnerability. So being able to send alerts to the agent in real time and say, hey, be careful. This could be a vulnerable customer, so the agent can do the right thing by the vulnerable customer. So different use cases for different technology, for different applications. I think as our journey develops with African Bank, we'd hope to be doing some stuff perhaps in real time as well as post call.
I imagine this could be used for fraud detection as well, or attempts.
Yeah, in particular, I think, Duncan, that if you look at social engineering in contact centers as an example, where there's usually more than one player involved, but they all adopt the same sort of script. Like, hey Duncan, how long give you? In themselves, they don't sound like particularly fraudulent questions. Hey Duncan, how long have you been with African Bank for?
Mm-hmm.
I've only been there 1 month. That gives the fraudster, there's someone with relatively low tenure. Hey, my name's Frank Sherlock. I'm the CIO. Can you just do a quick transaction for me, please? We've had a bit of a problem for it. Now, if you think about that, so you say, well, these are all individually in isolation. They may not mean much from a fraud perspective, but when you see them happening consistently on the same call, say, hey, this is fraud. And then when you say what other calls have also got the same characteristics of this, you uncover all of the other actors and players, and then you can do some other clever stuff like voice biometrics, perhaps. So you can, if these guys try to ring in again, you can automatically block them. But we've had a number of our clients who we've helped with that social engineering and fraud within the contact center using analytics.
Right, Penny Futter is African Bank's CIO. Penny, let me bring you in here, and if you don't mind, maybe just a scene setter on African Bank. I know the company was in the headlines a couple of years ago for not necessarily all the right reasons, but African Bank is back on track, as I understand it. Maybe just take us through where the bank's focus areas are, who your client base is, and what you're trying to achieve as a bank now in 2020.
Thank you, Duncan, and such a pleasure to be here today. So as you're saying, let me start off with a little bit of background about African Bank, because we certainly have changed over the last couple of years. So today we're South Africa's 6th largest retail bank. And I think we've emerged over the last couple of years from being a monoline business and only really offering unsecured lending products, and even those were via a limited number of channels, to what we are today, and we regard ourselves now as a diversified bank. Mm-hmm. So we now offer products across transactional banking, savings and investment, credit card, and insurance. And at the same time where we have diversified our product range, so we've also developed what we regard as a world-class omni-channel solution. And this really, it allows our customers to interact pretty seamlessly across any of our channels. And so from a strategy perspective, I think we're very clear on what we want to do and how we want to do it. And we've got 3 main pillars which hold up our strategy. So we've got culture, we've got customer, and we've got data. And I think you can see in all 3 of the areas we have excelled over the last while. So earlier this year, we won the Saxi Award for the best bank for customer satisfaction in South Africa, and we're incredibly proud of that achievement. Mm-hmm. And then earlier this month, we finished tops in the 2020 South African Banking Sentiment Index. And again, we're super proud of this. And in fact, we were the only bank with a net positive sentiment. And so, customer service, customer experience is clearly something which is very important to us. And we've built up this really good track record. Mm-hmm. But we're also aware that the companies, everyone is competing for customers, and that the competition in this arena is so fierce. And so there's no time to rest. And so we've got to continue to build on these strong foundations. And I think the best way to do this is to develop a deep understanding of our customers so that we can speak to them in a way that's relevant to them. We can offer them products that are right for them. And of course, engage with them on what are the channels they want to talk to us on. And I think it's because of this that we've turned to data to help us truly understand our customers and prospective customers. And I'm sure many organizations would say the same thing, but we all have so much data, be it in structured or unstructured formats. And our customers are literally giving us cues, or they're telling us how they are feeling or how they want to be treated and so on. And so I think it's about figuring out how we can leverage this data to then further improve our proposition to customers. And, I think it lies at the center of what we want to do. And so it's very strategically important to us. And, I think you can probably see from the context that I've set around African Bank, around our strategy, around data, around customer, that the relationship which we have developed between ourselves and CallMiner, it's a match made in heaven, really. It's addressing, I guess, what we want from our strategy.
All right. So Penny, maybe take us through how your investment in voice analytics technology from CallMiner has supported African Bank's business strategy.
So, and I think it's a relationship, and it's an important relationship which has grown and developed over time. And I'm sure Vere will touch on it a little bit later. But I think it's that understanding of the role that CallMiner can play in our strategy that's so important to us. It's not just a transactional relationship. It is really about understanding the value and the symbiotic relationship that we can get from partnering. And, I think Vere will touch on some of the use cases, but I can say that this is a foundation that will sit in our organization and have use cases today. But they will be used for things tomorrow that we haven't even thought of. And so it's about building on what we've already put in place and then identifying opportunities where we can take data, we can understand our customers better, and making sure that we're obsessing about this and that we're putting the technology to use strategically.
Right, Vere, let's bring you in here. We're going to get to those use cases in just a moment. But before we do that, Vere, how did this relationship with CallMiner come about, and why did African Bank choose CallMiner as its partner here?
So maybe just following on what Penny was saying around the strategy. So about 2.5 years ago, the executive committee of African Bank came up with our new strategy, which looked at culture, customer, and data. And we've put a lot of investment into our data science capability at African Bank over the last 2.5 years. We've built up a strong team of data scientists within African Bank. We're sitting on around about 75 data scientists. And the ExCo also identified underneath this data strategy some very key initiatives of which we believe was strategically aligned and would create value to the organization and value to our customers. And one of those strategic initiatives was voice analytics. So identified around 2.5 years ago, and we started to embark on this journey of finding the right partner for African Bank on voice analytics. And I think I say partner and not a software provider, and that's not what we were looking for. And we were quite deliberate in our approach to determine the right partner, and we invested a lot of time and money over the course of 18 months, reviewing a number of players in this space. And I guess what we were looking for is an organization that had similar values to African Bank, an organization that kind of fosters collaboration, that wasn't trying to give us a piece of software, but helping us determine a vision and a solution. And I think that's where CallMiner stood out. So what we saw from our initial engagements with CallMiner, They listened to our needs. They were open to our ideas, and they were willing to collaborate on finding a solution that we required. And I guess the piece that we looked at in terms of voice analytics was one from an operational perspective, which Frank has touched on, from a compliance perspective, from a fraud perspective. But I think there's a broader piece that comes in that we're looking for voice analytics. And that's around sentiment analysis and understanding our customers and understanding customers' behaviors. And I guess that maybe goes on to your second question, Duncan, which was
use cases,
around the use cases.
Exactly, yeah.
And if I can lead into there, we currently have rolled out CallMiner into one of our biggest call centers, which is in the collection space. And we're planning over the next 8 months to roll it across servicing and sales. And I guess there's a lift that we see and value that's going to be extracted just from an operational perspective, in terms of productivity benefits, from a compliance perspective. To Frank's point about, you're not sampling anymore, you're actually reviewing 100% of your calls, and you're doing it in a much more cost-effective manner. But the actually exciting part that comes around with voice analytics is about understanding customer sentiments and what's actually taking place on the call. To Penny and Frank's point, this is unstructured data, so generally not utilized, and it is a powerful source of information to understand how our agents are interacting with customers and what customers are telling us. And normally what you see in call centers, you have wrap-up codes, where you've got 6 or 7 wrap-up codes that an agent needs to wrap up a call on. And that's effectively the information that you have around the actual call itself. Besides whether the customer responded to an activity or made a P2P, but that's your structured, limited information. What you actually get from voice is a much powerful source of what that call entailed from an emotional perspective both from the agent as well as the customer. But also the fact that you can start looking for keywords, you can understand what makes some consultants better than others, what language they're using, which can help from a training perspective. But you can also start linking this with predictive analytics as a source to understand customers' behavior. So a customer leaving African Bank is not generally one from a price perspective, but could be from an interaction that customers had with you in one of your contact centers. And I think that's where it becomes extremely powerful from a retention perspective, from an understanding of customers' needs and products and services that they want. So that's where I'm extremely excited to embark on with CallMiner, this journey. And our data scientists are equally excited about the next 12 months of the phase of the project implementation. So again, I see an instant benefit that we'll get operationally, and we're actually seeing some of that already from the initial stages in the call center.
Yes.
But I think the exciting stuff and the value that comes in is about understanding your customers' needs and the journey that they're on.
So how do you measure the success of this, particularly in the short term? Is it mainly about client retention, or are there other metrics of success here?
So there's certain, I think in the short term, the initial success is your productivity measures. That'll be call wastage, call length, outcomes based results. Because as you implement CallMiner, there's transparency that gets created inside the call center. So you've empowered your team leaders, you've empowered your call center managers. I think the second phase of benefit starts to come in your training part, where you can identify gaps in your training. And again, you're going to start seeing that in kind of your response rates from a sales perspective, from your activation rates, and from your retentions rates. And then I think at a later stage, you start to see retention of customers, customer satisfaction improving beyond even our improvement of where we stand today, because we're not just accepting the fact that from a SASE point of view, we rated the top bank in South Africa. We're not satisfied at that level. So we're going to push it further and further. And those are the things that we're going to start measuring. We're going to start measuring customer satisfaction. We'll start measuring retention of customers and activities within the various call centers that we measure, such as response rates, activation rates, and P2Ps, for example, in the call center and collections call center space.
Now, Vere, so something that's struck me here, and I'm quite curious to know the answer to this, and maybe Frank, you want to jump in on this, the answer to this question as well. But this is internationally developed software. South Africa has 9 official languages. I don't know how many languages you speak inside your call centers, but South Africa has many unique accents as well. Has that made the deployment of this technology particularly challenging?
Maybe I could jump. So we are on a journey. So we've started with, so the way the technology works, without giving a sort of engineering view of it, sure, is that we transcribe every word in every call. So we use advanced speech to text transcription, and we analyze against the transcript. So clearly language, therefore, has a key part to play in that voice to text transcription. We are starting with English, South African English, which is very different to Australian English, to American English, to just people say things differently. The phonetics of words are different. So as part of, so we're starting with South African English, but we developed our platform with an open API, not just to allow for Vere and his team to take that data and apply it to the predictive modeling, etc., but also to allow us to plug in other components that we believe will enhance. And one of those other components, we have a open voice transcription API, which will allow us, as we develop our journey with African Bank, to take locally developed speech transcription engines in Afrikaans or one of the other 9 or so other languages that there are within South Africa, and plug in different transcription engines. So to give that a completely holistic language cover. We already operate today in 35 countries and 40 odd different languages, I think, within them countries. But we don't stop like African Bank. We don't say, hey, that's enough for us. We want to be able to serve the markets that our customers operate in the most holistic way possible. And transcription, plugging new transcription engines into the African Bank solution is definitely on the roadmap.
Okay. And do you make use of AI techniques in your software as well? I mean, is the software able to learn as it goes along?
Yeah, I think that our CTO and founder often tells me that we were doing machine learning before the term was even invented. Yeah, right. And what is AI? It's all things to all people. So we have a component part within our software called Illuminate, and Illuminate looks at the whole lexicon, if you like, of all of the words that are being spoken, and can help and advise the people who are using our system as to what content to build and how to construct it. So machine learning and AI at the heart of what we do. But there's many companies that will say, hey, we've got AI as though AI is magic. But as Vere and Penny will vouch, speech analytics provide you actionable insight, but the organization has to take action against that insight. It's not, hey, AI will solve everything for you. But yeah, it's AI fueled. We were the Forrester in 2018 published an AI fueled speech analytics report where they looked at the various vendors in the space. The report was due to, every 2 years the report comes out. It was due to come out in 2020 Q3, but because of COVID, it's been delayed, I think, until next quarter. CallMiner were the #1 supplier in AI fueled analytics from Forrester. So we're proud of that position, but we're continually innovating as well.
Penny, let me bring you back in. Maybe take us through your working relationship with CallMiner. How have you found working with the company? I understand you regard this as more of a partnership than your typical service provider type relationship.
Yes, and maybe I'm going to draw on something that Frank mentioned now, because it's a nice analogy. It's you've got to have the culture in the organization to leverage the AI, and so almost I feel a little bit like that epitomizes our relationship. Is it's not only about putting a technology in; it's helping us to learn too. understanding where we want to go. And, certainly, this is new to us. I mean, Frank and CallMiner may have been doing this for since before machine learning was invented. But for us, this is new. And so it's about understanding that we're learning on this journey together. And obviously, you've picked it up already around the languages. So we will obviously like to expand this in the future, and we appreciate the fact that there are different avenues in which we can work with CallMiner to obviously better serve our customer. So again, it's, for me, it's about walking the path together.
Yeah.
And understanding that the only way we'll really get there is together. So, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure, even though it is only the start of our journey, and we look forward to many, many years ahead.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think, Duncan, if you think about some of the values that the African Bank have, if you think about that customer centricity and data, obviously speech analytics is data, but customer centricity, we have over 300 customers worldwide, and we value community, the ability to bring our customers together to share and learn thoughts and ideas. So it's not just CallMiner providing the expertise and guidance, but it's also fueled by other customers who've perhaps been on a similar journey or a similar stage of the journey. So we have a engagement optimization area on our website where customers can compare and contrast thoughts and ideas and bring them together. We have an annual user forum that we bring all of our customers together, not just to hear about the latest and greatest from CallMiner, but to hear about what customers have been doing and getting to share those thoughts and ideas. So I think that the cultural match, if you like, that importance that we place around data and the importance that we place around customer centricity is really good fit for working with African Bank.
Okay, and I imagine CallMiner's technology must be quite integral for many companies in their digital transformation journeys. What sort of conversations are you having with customers generally, Frank, about digital transformation and how CallMiner's technologies can fit into what they're trying to do?
Do you know? I think it starts with the very basic. How do you know what to transform if you don't have the data?
Right.
And a lot of organizations, at the start of the journey with us, they don't truly understand, some of the call drivers, why are people calling, which calls are transactional, which calls have lots and lots of customer effort, which ones are as a result of a broken journey from a self-service channel. I was trying to pay my bill on the website and I couldn't do it, or I was trying to give a meter reading and it wouldn't work. So the ability to help our customers to both understand what can be transformed and to put some form of priority around what can be transformed. And then as they're going through, transformation's an ongoing process. As they're going through that, which elements that have been transformed to digital transformation, to self-service channels, to web chat, to which ones are breaking out into higher cost, more frictionful experiences within the contact center. So really, I guess, Duncan, the answer that we help to identify using the data what should be transformed, and then we help using the data to see what the effect of that transformation is, both operationally and from a customer experience perspective.
Before we wrap today, I think I'd like to give all three of you just a brief opportunity to maybe comment on where you see this relationship going in the future. I know we've touched on that a little bit during the discussion today, but Vere, maybe I can give you an opportunity to say a few words on what you see happening next in terms of African Bank's relationship with CallMiner and what you're going to hope to achieve out of the relationship.
So, I mean, we've signed quite a lengthy agreement with CallMiner, and that's obviously a testament to our confidence in CallMiner's ability to provide us the solution that we're looking for. So maybe that's the first point I'd like to make. The second point is, as I said, we're embarking on the operational implementation at the moment, and I see that within the next 6 months, we're going to be working quite closely with CallMiner, or my data science team will be working very closely with CallMiner to effectively develop the the customer sentiment, the predictive analysis, etc., that we're really excited about. And I think, you asked the question about the culture fit, and collaboration, I think, is one of our key values. And we saw that again from the start with CallMiner. So when my data scientists were saying, this is the format that we wish to receive the data in, this is what we are trying to do, this is what we envisage, this is where we see the value. What we didn't get was, well, we can't provide you the data, or our solution is only limited. It was one that was more of a collaborative engagement, which said, let's help you, let's assist you, let's work together to find a solution, because it's going to be in the benefit of both partners or both parties. And I think that's the value that I saw straight away with CallMiner, and I envisage that we'll see that going, that same behavior will continue going forward over the length of the contract. So.
And Penny, how do you see this relationship helping you in your mandate as Chief Information Officer?
Yeah, so, and you're right. I mean, I'm a techie, and I love technology, and this is such an incredible piece of technology. Just looking under the cover, it really is, CallMiner have done an amazing job in constructing this product. The artificial intelligence, the machine learning, I think there's a lot of investment going on in the product too, which for me is also exciting, because it means that, Vere has already spoken about, we've entered into a long-term relationship with CallMiner. So that's also exciting to see, the new developments, the new investments that CallMiner is making in their software, how that can help us even further in the future. So for me, every year, every month is going to be very, very exciting. And, the role that it's playing in our organization and the impact that can have on customers, on our own staff, I think it's absolutely incredible.
And Frank, any final thoughts, any final words from yourself?
Yeah, I think in terms of the future journey, I've already touched upon some of the tactical stuff around languages. I think another tactical thing that we will be doing, we'll be taking on board some of the digital channels, so maybe going beyond voice and into email, web chat, etc., etc. I think strategically, some of the alignment, we have our own data science group, and Vere's got 70 people in data science. So doing some data science collaboration, with data scientists from the financial vertical, data scientists from the energy vertical, and bringing our data scientist community together is something that I'm really excited about being able to do. We see more and more in the client base that data science team are critical components, because at the end of the day, this is data. So that's where I'm looking forward. Languages, omni-channel analytics, and data science research collaboration.
Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you to all three of you. Frank Sherlock is Vice President of International Markets at CallMiner, and he was joined on this call today by Penny Futter, who is African Bank's Chief Information Officer, and by her colleague Vere Millican, who is Executive of Credit and Data Science, also at African Bank. Thank you so much for talking to TechCentral today.